Hey guys, it has been quite a while since I made a video for this specific series, but it is one of my biggest passions, so I wanted to continue with it. Um, so, as you know from the title, this series is about the 12 gods within, where I talk about the 12 gods from the Greek pantheon and discuss their psychological relevance, their psychological interpretation. And as I investigate more and more for these videos, I will also discover more myself and hopefully learn a lot and bring you guys some more information and knowledge. So today we will talk about Poseidon. Poseidon, the great god of the sea and of earthquakes, the god who is known as the emotional king. So I want to start off with listing the attributes of Poseidon, what he is generally known for, how we know him. I will mention a nice story that should exemplify Poseidon's behavior and character, and I will explain, of course, his symbolism. So what does he actually represent, and how can we see that in our day-to-day life, in our own world, let's say. So let's dive in. To start off, Poseidon is, as I mentioned before, the earth shaker, a sea god. His name literally translated means something like husband or lord of the earth. Very interesting, of course, because he's more associated with the sea. Or it is also a translation of the one who provides. He is the god of the sea, rivers, and earthquakes. He's also associated with horses, and he is wielding his trident. So, a couple of things there. When we talk about the sea as such, we are not referring to the sea as an entity, like a primordial entity. That would be more reflecting the terrain of Oceanos, who is a titan, and the titans are older gods in the Greek mythology, and they more represent like more primal, fundamental forces and things that existed. Once you go to the gods of the pantheon, so let's say the current ruling gods, they are way more humanized forces. And as I mentioned in videos before, the gods should be really viewed as forces that you cannot deny, and in some way you would like to understand them and maybe bargain with them to understand the world better and to have a better life. So in this context as well, Poseidon is the ruler of the sea, so not the creator or anything like that. He's just the ruler of the sea. What happened is, after the switch of power between the Titans and the younger generation of gods, Poseidon, Hades, and Zeus drew lots with each other to determine who would rule over which area of the world. Zeus won, and he got to rule over the sky and the above ground realm. Poseidon got the sea, and Hades got the underworld. What is important to realize here is that there is, of course, the above ground area, which is what Zeus is reigning over, but Poseidon is still the husband of the earth, if that makes sense. So he is more concerned with all the underground and under sea level things, and that signals the unconscious. So Zeus is concerned about everything that is conscious. Poseidon is concerned about everything that is unconscious, so emotions in this sense. As you also might know, the sea can be representative of emotions, of emotional turmoil, and that is the terrain of Poseidon. He is known as an unpredictable ruler, unpredictable king, just like the sea is also unpredictable. One moment it can seem very calm, and in the other it can be extremely moving and dangerous even. Just to linger a little bit more on the sea as a unconscious emotional metaphor, you can imagine that what is at the surface is, you also have a lot of these imagery of your conscious and unconscious mind like an iceberg. So the tip of the iceberg that's pointing out is what is already conscious, but the rest of the iceberg is actually unconscious, so that it's deeper underneath the sea. So the deeper you go, the more you immerse yourself in the unconscious emotions that you might have. And again, Poseidon is the ruler of that terrain. He can go as deep as he wants, and he also experiences and embodies this kind of terrain as a ruler of such. And the earthquakes fit in with, if you have tension that is building up, it can suddenly be released, causing great shifts and shakes to the conscious realm. So that is exactly the terrain of Poseidon. So it's dealing and managing, governing unconscious terrain, and also expressing that, bringing that into consciousness, which is why he was such a powerful and important deity, because that has quite a big impact on people's lives. One important thing to mention as well is the emotional leadership. So you might have experienced in your own life from yourself or from other people that they are leaders, kings as such, but they are letting themselves be ruled or overrun by their emotions. This can be a very tricky thing. And that is, in that sense, you would say that person is possessed by the spirit of Poseidon. So he has this kingly power status capabilities, but he's letting himself be ruled by his emotion and bringing everything out onto the surface, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something very important to realize, that these archetypes are very real and they exist in our day-to-day experience as well. And also very nice to mention that there is this dual nature to Poseidon, because he is known as the protector, but also as the destroyer. So you can see that in one of the most famous stories of Poseidon, where he plays a role in the story of Odysseus after the Trojan War. He wants to go home, lands on an island where there is a Cyclops, and the Cyclops is the son of Poseidon. It's a one-eyed giant who tries to eat Odysseus and his crewmates, and to prevent that, Odysseus blinds the Cyclops. So, which is fair, he doesn't want to be eaten, but Poseidon is so emotional and so connected and protective of his own kin that he vows to curse Odysseus and make his whole home journey extremely difficult and long. So for many years, Odysseus is suffering trying to get back home, and that is purely as a revenge by Poseidon. So you can see very clearly from this story that Poseidon is a very emotional ruler, and that he also doesn't shy away from that. This is actually his greatest strength. This is where his powers come from. And that's also something that you could meditate on, think about. Most emotional rulers actually have quite a lot of powers and ability to convince people, because they are so emotional, because they are so grounded in their unconscious, their emotions and how they feel. They are very grounded in that sense, and therefore they are very stable. Whereas if you always have to rely on your rationality, you might realize that that's just like a very small part of the equation, and you might get into your inner conflict. So it's way easier if you're able to consolidate your rationality with your emotions, or you might even say that your emotions, if you repress them, they can build up to become a much stronger force than your rationality and overtake you. But if you, and that would connect nicely to what I talked about before, like the worshiping, if you were not worship, but the worship of these deities in a sense is more, like I said, a kind of bargaining. So you want to keep on their good side. You want to keep them happy. And that's the same fashion in which one would do shadow work, in order to keep the things that are maybe socially seen less acceptable not repressed, but give them their proper place, so you can actually use those powers. So even if you were taught that expressing your emotion very strongly is a bad thing, there lies a great source of power. And if you repress it, it will fight against you. But if you give it its place, you can use it. And it will also, like, if you give it its place and give it its outlet, it will leave you with clear, nice surface water. So your sailing will indeed be smooth. So I think the greatest learning from this and the other stories that I have been reading about the Greek gods and a bit their psychological interpretation is that the concept of gods indeed has changed quite significantly, as in the Greek gods are not really to be worshipped, actually more just to be recognized and bargained with as probably mostly unconscious forces within or without. The idea is that just like shadows, they might be repressed, and if you repress them, they will come up in an unexpected manner, just like the beach ball that you're trying to press underwater. It will come up when you least expect it. And I think in a way that the Greeks use these kind of stories of these extremely powerful forces was a way of shadow work, of bringing these kind of entities to the surface and to look at them and see, okay, this is the power that is governing my life right now. How can I stay in contact with it? How can I keep peace with it? And that's, I think, one of the most crucial points when evaluating these ancient myths is to understand in which context you should look at them. The gods are not beautiful or perfect at all. They are very human with all their imbalances and irrationality. And yeah, that just drives the point more home, I think, that they are entities themselves with great power, but in the end, they are not perfect or balanced. I would really like to learn if you guys connect to the story, if you connect to Poseidon as an emotional ruler, an emotional king. I myself definitely do. I have the feeling that I'm emotionally quite balanced, but also, as turns out from my most recent shadow work, is that there is some more emotional turbulence under the water if you dig deep enough. And I think that there's a lot to discover and to bring to the surface and integrate. And I think the story of Poseidon is a perfect example to look into that as well. I also try to take, as I did before, so I had the trio of Hephaestus, Aphrodite, and Ares as a kind of a fair triangle situation. I will also take these three kings, so that would be Poseidon, Zeus, and Hades, as also a triangle to discuss, because they are very much related. They're all three kingly archetypes, but they all have their different domain, which can all play a role in your day-to-day life. So if you like this, please let me know in the videos. And also, if you have some examples where you saw a Poseidon manifest in your life, I would be super interested to hear about it. And yeah, that's it for today, guys. Like the video if you like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to have a great day.